I'm not your superwoman. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. I'm not the kind of girl that you can let down and think that everything's okay. Boy, I am only human. This girl needs more dedication, no hugs, as I took enough love from you to me. Ooh, baby, yeah, yeah. And that is Karen White, ladies and gentlemen, only on Metro FM. I'm joking. Myself, I hope you guys are good. This week we are in the Mazda CX-60, a brand new offering from the Japanese automaker. So we're going to do the full review. But before we continue, I want to tell you guys about a cool website called the Other People's Cars website that is run by none other than seasoned motoring journalist Calvin Fisher. So the written review, like scooter feta. Yo. So the written review of the Mazda CX-60 will be live on the Other People's Cars website. So I'll link it below and I'll show you a little pop-up banner on the screen. But nonetheless, let's get into the review. And welcome guys. If you're new here, what has taken you so long? Anyway, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you guys so much for the support. Really appreciate it. Bit of a lengthy intro, but let's get into it. So on the exterior of the Mazda CX-60, I find it to be very, very, very minimalist. And I think that is Mazda's MO, or that's how they literally produce their cars, because look at their lineup. Very, very simple designs, but very striking designs. I think you have this large grille up front, you have the small semicircular headlamps with daytime running lights, also the bit of chrome bits around the grille. So it has a very large grille and small headlamps, which gives it a very American-esque look, because that's what you'd usually get in something like a Cadillac or Escalade. But well, that's my thoughts on the exterior. This car is very long. It's about 170 millimeters longer than the CX-5. So it's not a very short or small car. It's very big. You know, initially I thought it was a 7-seater, but to my surprise it's a 5-seater. And when you move on to the rear, you have a very clean design. You know, you have your rear headlamps, which I find to be really pretty, and you do have an electric tailgate, which I find to be a very, very good touch. So on the exterior, it's very beautiful. It sits on 20-inch tires, 20-inch wheels, sorry. And I think it's a beautiful, it looks very beautiful, it looks the part, it has a very great stance, it has a very great road presence. So with regards to that, I think it's just a proper 10 out of 10 in terms of exterior looks. Look guys, I mean, driving in Midrand is always a trip. The last time I was here, I don't know, there were cows and they had, what is Mudisa in English? A shepherd. There were cows by the How train station there in Midrand, and they had a shepherd. I was too stunned to speak. Anyway, back to okay. So onto the interior of the Mazda CX-60, you are met by a very clean and minimalist interior. So what happens on the outside is kind of just going on. This very clean, very decluttered kind of energy is also happening in the interior. This infotainment system I found it also in the Mazda CX-30 last year when I tested that one out, which I found to be really cool. So it's a very clean and very nice kind of interior. You know, you have the digital cluster up in front of you, but it's an analog cluster that they made digital, which is actually quite nice because, you know, you're so used to all this fancy new tech that happens. So this is very refreshing on the eye, very clean layout. Like, minimalism is a big thing with Mazda because they make sure that their cars are not too much is going on, which I find to be very commendable, and I think it's very, very cool. You have the center console that houses all the functions that you need, because up here there's absolutely nothing. It's just your infotainment system screen and your hazards button and the aircon dials and stuff like that. You toggle between sport mode and normal using this My Drive button over here, and this gear lever, which is quite cool. I find this gear lever to be weird. It feels like a stress ball, like, because to get into park is a bit of a mission, man. Like, sometimes I'll leave the car in reverse and then you have to move it to park, and I'm like, hey, like, what is going on? So it feels like a stress ball because it's just like this weird circular thing. But anyway, and to operate the infotainment system, use the swivel knob right here, and the volume button also over here, which I find to be really cool. and really nice. The only thing that is irritating me about this car also is the fact that this infotainment system screen is not touchscreen. You have to use the swivel knob. So apparently Mazda says that it's safer. You know, they want more human interaction. So that's why this thing is not touchscreen. And I think that that is actually a bit flawed, because for me to operate CarPlay, I have to use the swivel knob. So I have to look down, hand-to-eye coordination, need to concentrate on this thing while driving. Whereas if it was touchscreen, I could just extend my hand and touch on the functions that I want to be functional. So I get to tlhaloganyo ya bona e kae hore ba nya gore ba thaka slamos nyana ba nya gore scam nyana hore a wa lena you don't really need touchscreen. Touchscreen ke dilo tsa ka jeno. Dikoloi tse tsotlhe touchscreen. I mean, the infotainment system in my long-term scenario is touchscreen. So Mazda dilo tse di bolelang ga dina tlhaloganyo because ba re betella mola, ba re betella blind. I don't get that whole design philosophy, but anyway, they probably know better than I do. I am not an automotive designer. But yeah, other than that, I think the interior is very clean, very well laid out, multifunction steering wheel, very great interior quality. Like, the quality of this interior is second to none. I think Mazda's has one of the best interior qualities you'll ever find, and yeah, it's really cool. So how does the Mazda CX-60 drive? So the Mazda CX-60 is powered by a 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine, meaning there's no turbo. And this engine is also found in the CX-5. And it produces 141 kilowatts and 261 newton meters of torque. And to be quite honest, this is the rear-wheel drive variant. So if you go into the individual spec, which is a top spec of this Mazda CX-60, you get an all-wheel drive drive system. Here it's rear-wheel drive. And to be honest, it drives very nice. It's a proper it's a proper city cruiser. It's a proper long distance car that you won't really regret, because it drives so nice. It's absolutely one of the most comfortable cars I have ever driven. Even the seats, just to add on to the seats, it's comfortable. Like, it's a very comfortable drive. It's enjoyable. It uses an 8-speed automatic gearbox, which is absolutely seamless in the gear changes. So I think it's a very commendable and very enjoyable drive. The engine, however, does sound strained. If you put your foot down a bit, let me try it. Yeah, it does a bit of a whiny sound, which is a bit frustrating. So it does sound a bit strained, and I think because of the mammoth and the sheer size of this vehicle, it's going through a lot. Like yo, yeah, Cinda, guys, like Cinda. Okay, I don't know why I do these things, guys. I'm so sorry. But it feels strained. Like, it feels a little bit strained, but surprisingly enough, it's not a frustrating drive. It's actually very enjoyable to drive. It's a very comfortable car. So I think this rear-wheel drive system is actually doing very well. I wonder how the all-wheel drive is, because this is the dynamic spec, which is just the entry into the CX-60 range. And yeah, so I think the drive in its own, it's commendable. So Mazda claims a combined fuel consumption of 7.3 liters per 100 Ks, and I think that is actually not very accurate. I have been doing nothing less than 9.3. 9.3. The consumption in here is horrendous, for the lack of a better term. Kore, it goes through fuel like it's nothing. I don't know how much we spent this past week on fuel, because it really just runs through petrol like crazy. And I've always complained about Mazda's consumptions, and I think that 7.3 was just something they put there once again. Slamos, cook the books nyana, so the car looks more appealing. But when you drive it, you're like, you're like, no, I'll try it, because the fuel consumption in here is very high. So if you're looking for a car that is good on fuel, this is not one of them. Don't look at the CX-60. So let's get into some of the niceties of this vehicle. You have a very nice standard sound system. The 8-speaker sound system in here is actually very nice. You have electric seats, you have a rear park assistant, and you have this really cool sunroof, which I find to be a bit too small for the size of this car. It's a bit small considering the size of the car, but yeah, I think very minimalist. So those are kind of the only few notable things that I can talk about, and I think now we should get into the verdict. The boot space in this car is really good. It's really, 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 really good. I think it's actually one of the nicest boot space, so you can hoy quite a lot. I mean, this test unit came with a tire, came with a Pirelli tire. I don't know what Mazda's doing, but it came with a whole lot of stuff. When the guy dropped it off, he was like, can you just put it in the garage or something? I was like, Maseve, you know what I'm going to do? But to drive around with this thing and show the boot space. So I was traveling quite a bit with this car this past week. My luggage fit very well, and all the gifts that we get from these media events, they sit quite nicely in there, even with a 20-inch tire. So 10 out of 10 for boot space. It's great. So let's get into the pricing of the Mazda CX-60. This dynamic variant, the entry into the CX-60 range, costs 739,000 Rand 800. And the individual spec goes up to 844,000. So it's a very expensive car. I won't even lie to you. It's expensive. And it aims to rival the likes of the BMW X3 and the Audi Q5. So it wants to play in a very luxurious premium segment. But I don't think it's there yet. It is a little bit lackluster to be playing in that field. You know, if you're going to play in an ambitious field, make your car ambitious. You know, it doesn't have, there's a lot of omitting. You don't have blind spot monitors on this one. And a lot of cars even below that price range have those things already. You know, it's a bit bland, for the lack of a better term. It's a bit bland. Because what is the noticeable difference between this and the CX-5? For me, it's just the exterior. I'd rather just take my money and get a CX-5 Carbon Edition. That's 650,000 Rand and call it a day. The other leftover money, I just, you know, we have a term in Spitori where we say we rahagamot. So you kick like you kick a ball, we rahagamot. So rahazagamot. Yeah, kick the rest of the money. Just spend it on something else, you know, like something whatever. You know, it's a great car, but it's missing so much, and it has potential. It just has a lot of potential. It is so premium, but not premium enough to play there. You know, it's premium enough to play somewhere else. You understand? Price for price, guys, you can get a Kia Sportage GT Line Plus, top spec Kia Sportage for this money. You can get a Hyundai Tucson, you can get a Cherry 7, Tiggo 7, Tiggo 8, Haval H6 HEV. You can get a T-Roc for this money. You can get maybe a Tiguan, I don't know. You can get a whole lot of cars for this money, right? You can get a whole lot of cars, right? For 739,000 Rand. And personally for me, I think CX-5 Carbon Edition will just make more sense, more financial sense than this one. I do, however, think it is a charming product. It's good, it drives nice. It has all the features that a premium car should have, but it's not enough to play in a very, very premium segment. But it's premium enough. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's premium enough, but not for a certain segment. I'm telling. But I think it's a very beautiful crafted vehicle. There are talks, or it's been confirmed, that Mazda is bringing a 3-liter or 3.3-liter turbocharged engine next year. That is going to produce about 184 kilowatts. So it's coming in Feb of 2024. And if this thing at 2.5 liters already 800,000, that thing, I speculated that it would be 800k, but people are saying, nah, it's going to be north of 1 million. 1 million Rand for a Mazda in South Africa. I don't know if people are going to latch onto it. But if the drivetrain is great, it might work. What I've noticed about the South African market, we are more inclined on spec. South African consumers are very big on how a car looks, how it feels inside. We love premiumness. Although yes, we love how a car drives, but we love spec. We enjoy spec. So it has to make that car, when it comes in, when that new power plant comes in, it has to just come to the party. It has to just be, you know, a showstopper. And I think, to be honest, Mazda is very conservative for its own good. It's a very conservative brand. I think they have the power or the ability to be such a bestseller if they would just loosen up a bit and just, you know, have free reign, broaden their horizons, explore the limits and have fun. I feel like they're very conservative and they hold back. You know, they hold back a bit. And you can see it here with this car. This car had potential to be significantly better than what it is. But I am going to be quite honest and say that it's not a bad product at all. And I think if you want it, you can get it. Yeah. So ultimately, you know what, the Mazda, I'll give it an 8 out of 10. I'll give it an 8. Pricing is fine for what it is. It just needs a little bit more. If you're going the premium route, cars are very expensive nowadays, so the pricing is a lot, but it just needs a bit more. But I think it's fine. It's a good 8 out of 10. I love Mazda products. They're very nice. So yeah. And that is it from me, Buma Seve. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. And also don't forget to head on over to the Other People's Cars website for a detailed review of this vehicle. Also, you can read on there if you quickly need some quick facts about it. It's also available on the website. Thank you so much to Calvin Fisher, for the opportunity to contribute on his platform. I really do not take it for granted, guys. I'm so blessed and I feel so grateful to be working with such amazing people in the automotive industry. So yeah, I am dog tired, guys. I've been traveling. I went to Cape Town, then I came back, then I went to East London. Not East London, man. Eastern Cape. King Klebecha. PE Klebecha. Woo! I hope I'm saying it correctly. I need to just practice it a bit more. I'm so sorry. So I went to Klebs, and then I just came back from Cape Town. Guys, when you just sleep because your body's shutting down, I just need time out. But we just need to work hard, guys. In life, there's no lepara that's gonna save you. You have to work hard. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Should I leave you with song? I'll leave you with song. This is a very joyous channel, Mihleng ya bufe lo basadi basupa batla itwarele la ka munna alimung dijole diaparo etlana tabona tababebe babebe. Yo, you guys must be tired of me. Let's just cut it here. Bye.